Hello everyone, I am Mayo Yan, the Red Logicalist, and this is the Logicalist's Guide to Mejiko. I will be going through all of her cards, hopefully I didn't miss any. It's in release order, but starting with her promos. I won't be going through most of her paradoxes or tactics, just because they're mostly interchangeable with what you want to play. But if they do get referenced in some of her cards, I will bring it up. So let's get straight into it. First card. Pitch Black Smile Mejiko. You can drop her from the field to give a opponent's character -1 aura. The sacrificing itself is the most important part of this card, but -1 aura is pretty good when your opponent loses ties as the defender if they play a paradox after this card activates once. Dying on the Death Road Mejiko. So her ability is that she can paradox combo with an aura 2k. So when you play it, changes the battle aura, but she also gets 2k power. And when you do play it in this character's battle, you drop the top card of your opponent's stock. Less so relevant, the stock kill was a really niche thing for her, but it's still sometimes useful, but generally not too often. Her logic drive is pay 3, so as long as you trance into her and she has soul, she gets +1 aura for the turn, and the ability that when your member is dropped from the field, she gains 2k for the turn. So that's every time you drop something, which is fairly relevant, but her level 4s are generally stronger now, so this one gets kind of power creeped out, in all honesty. But you could still find some room for it in your deck as a one-of. I've tried a few times. It's actually fine. Next card. Her level 3 9k. The most important part about this card is that it's a level 3 9k. Many level 3s in the current meta are 7 to 8k, so being 9k as a defender and your opponent not attacking it with something that has soul is very, very detrimental for them. Her abilities, though, her logic drive first is pay 3, draw a card. She gains 2k for the turn, and then one of your opponent's members gets -2k for the turn. That's actually a very strong ability, being able to power swing for 4k difference. And since she'll have soul, she'll be attacking as a 13k, which is very strong. And being able to give -2k is actually one of the strongest ways to win a battle, because all of your attacks basically get +2k. So this is very strong. Her auto ability is at the start of your end phase, you can pay the cost, which is dropping her. And if you do, you can kill a level 3 or lower member without soul, either yours or your opponent's, and then all players choose a level 2 or lower member in their own drop zone and mobilize it without paying their costs. This ability is less relevant. Like I said, the most important part is that it's a level 3 9k and it has its place in the deck. So it's mostly there for the logic drive and the big defense and offense. Sometimes the ability will be relevant, but not too often. Next card. Believing in Cult Mejiko. You can rest a talent. In English, it's Splendor. The characters that are Splendor are her and Chloe as of right now. And then if you do, not once per turn, choose one of your opponent's members and gets -1k. It's alright, but her Logicalists are generally a lot stronger than this, so this one sees very little to no play. High Speed Fall Mejiko. At the start of your battle phase, if 2 or more of your members have been dropped from field this turn, drop the top card of your opponent's stock. Pay 3, logic drive, draw a card, +2k, -2k. Less good than the other one because this is 8k instead of 9k, and the auto ability is actually very irrelevant because the times you want to be dropping their stock is during the main phase, so you can proc some of your other abilities that are relevant. But even in addition to that, dropping at the beginning of the battle phase is not that great. If this was at the end, I'd probably be more willing to try it more often. But just because if you kill a character and it goes to stock, you can get rid of one of that. That's actually very relevant. But not having that and doing it at the beginning when you already want them to be at low stock is not that great. Jealous Genius Taoist. In English, her name is Huang Hong, so I'll go with that. Same with one of her other Covenanters. At the start of the end step of the battle, where this member is defending, stock this member. The reason for the downside is because it's level 1 8k, so she's always going to die on a defense after the battle, of course. But as an attacker, she's 8k. This is alright, but you want to be using her foreigners for plussing, so this also doesn't see much play. But you can probably find a way to use it if you really want to. Prayer Beads of Misfortune Mejiko. It's a level 2. You can drop this member to choose one of your opponent's member, give him -3k for the turn. And the logic drive is pay 3, draw a card, and give an opponent's character minus 2k for the turn. So you don't want to be trancing into this because the logic drive won't be too relevant, but the startup ability to drop it at minus 3k is very relevant because counting the number of times you drop is one of the things Mejiko needs, and getting to 2 is a big number, and being able to drop this at its own ability is very strong with a lot of her newer cards. So I'll bring this up in the future when we talk about the other cards, but this is something to note about this card. It's very strong. Vanilla Mejiko. She's cute. Fear of High Places Mejiko. No ability except for a Logic Drive, so you have to trance to activate it. Logic Drive, pay 3, reveal the top card of your deck, and put that card into your hand. Then if the revealed card is red, this also gains 5k. It's really not that strong. All it does is gain 5k and draw a card, when generally she can be doing a lot more powerful things with her level 4s. So the reason there's a common is very obvious. Let's go to next card. Not This Way Mejiko. Level 2, 7k. Logic Drive, draw a card. This gains 2k. A lot of the red past set 1 don't give minus power anymore. So these Logic Drives got a lot worse being plus 2k power instead of minusing power. Her auto ability is pay 1. When she destroys a gate in your opponent's back row, you can pay the cost. If you do, drop an opponent's stock. So this does activate after the gate is broken. So the stock your opponent gains from the gate, you can pay 1 to get rid of it, which is alright, but her level 2s are a lot stronger now. As you'll see with what I say with a lot of these cards, just her newer cards are stronger, but some of them do have a place. This one doesn't really. Ravaging Bullet Spread Mejiko. This is one of the level 4s that I have been teching a 1 of in her new build. I really like this card's ability, which is when an opponent's card is dropped from stock by the ability of your Mejiko, any of them, this gets 1k for the turn. And its own logic drive is that pay 3, you draw a card, and then you drop the top 2 cards of your opponent's stock, and then this member gains 2k. So in reality, this card gains 4k for its logic drive because you're dropping 2 cards. And if you incidentally drop some other stock with other cards, then this card becomes very strong very quickly. And like I said, the dropping stock isn't a major deal, but a lot of the niche interactions with this card is what makes dropping stock incidentally very strong. So I'm actually playing 1 of this in my newest build, and I think this card's actually fine. I don't think it's amazing, but it gets to the power curve that you really want it to in the late game. Enthusiastically Researching Mejiko, level 1, Covenant with Huang Huang or Larva. If the deployed TransUnion is Mejiko, like every Covenant, if there are 4 more cards in your level zone, drop the top card of your opponent's stock. It's not that strong. Like I said, the interactions with drop stock is alright, but it's not generally strongest. And even if you use it with the last card we just saw, gaining 1 extra K from this is not that strong. Hard Fought Victory Mejiko, level 3 7k. That's already a very low threshold, so that's very low in terms of level 3s. You want level 3s generally to be 8k to 9k unless they do a very strong ability. So this thing's auto ability is that when it attacks, if there's 1 or fewer cards in your opponent's stock, for the battle it gets +1 limit and you RNG 1. That's to say you put the top card of your deck into the battle zone face up. It's okay, but you don't want a level 3 7k that does that when your opponent's stock is 1 or less, because it's very hard. Like I said, once again, it's all about incidental stock removal. You don't want that to be the basis of your deck. And her Logic Drive is pay 3, draw a card, and she gains 4k for the turn. Growing Robot Vigilante Larva, which is his English name. Covenant, pay 1. If you do, drop the top card of your opponent's stock. It's alright. Sometimes that incidental stock is fine. Before I used it just as another Covenanter for Mejiko, just as a target. But in all honesty, this thing's Covenant is not that strong. Burning Hatred Mejiko, one of the best premier Mejiko cards, and the fact that it's one of the 2 territory Mejikos you will be using in the new deck, where all the Japanese meta is a lot of 1 territory cards, unless they're that strong. This card's startup ability, which doesn't even need to have a soul restriction, so you don't have to be trans into it, is just drop 1 of your members, gain 2k. Doesn't care which member it is, which is really relevant for your abilities that just proc based on how many things you sack and what you sack. Her Logic Drive, which is by far one of the strongest in the game, is pay 3, draw a card. Then if you have 3 Mejikos in your drop zone, it also gets the ability for the turn that when your opponent places a Paradox onto the battle zone, they can pay 2. If they don't, that Paradox goes face down right away. What this doesn't let you do is play a Paradox and your opponent not being able to cancel it, because overloaded Paradox do happen first. So if you play a Paradox and your opponent plays one, it goes face down before this auto ability triggers. But it does mean that your opponent has to be fighting in power, unless they're willing to pay the 2, in which case you can use Paradoxes in your hand to cancel theirs. So keep that in mind. This card is very strong for the end game. Hidden Face without Makeup Mejiko. Easily her second best Covenant as a Logicalist of her deck. I really like this. I'm playing 4 right now with 4 of the new one, which we'll see later. But what this does is when you Covenant with anything with the Mejiko trait or Huang Huang, specifically because some of the Huang Huangs don't say Mejiko as a trait, you can pay 2, and then you drop the top card of your opponent's stock, and you can salvage a Mejiko from your drop zone. So this lets you fix your hand and grab things that you might need, either 5k logic definition, 2 aura logic definition, or even things that work when they're sacked. So this card's very strong for setting that up. The 2 cost is actually fairly high, but it becomes a lot better with the new EX souls that don't need stock as much. Evil Spirit with Many Tricks Mejiko. This is a logic drive pay 2 draw one. So this is in the era when they started giving pay 2 logic drives that don't give a secondary boost. So instead of pay 3 draw and then give or take away power, it's pay 2 draw card. You don't want to be logic driving this, mainly because of its auto ability. So when this is dropped from the field by the ability or cost of your Mejiko, you drop the top card of your opponent's stock. Then if there's one or fewer cards in your opponent's stock, you draw a card. So the way this works is that you can sack it with abilities that remove stock. And then if you do, you also get to draw a card. And if you're able to get to magic numbers, and I realized I forgot a card because the best combo with this card is from set 1. But that card is a Mejiko, level 2, 6 or 7k, I can't remember exactly. But its ability is that you can rest it and sacrifice a Mejiko, including itself, that level 2, or another one, to drop an opponent's stock. So if they have 3 stock, which is generally what happens in the current meta around turn 3, you can tap that character, sacrifice this, remove a stock, and then use this thing's ability to remove another stock and draw a card. And then, as you'll see with one of the other cards, that this becomes a very, very high advantage swing. Grudge Launcher Mejiko. Pay 2 logic drive, draw a card. It's fine. Sometimes this thing you will trance into, but it is only 5k, so that's a lot to invest into for just a 5k. You drop one of your members. When your other red member attacks or defends, you can pay the cost, which is dropping any of the members. It can be the member that got attacked, which is very niche, but usually doesn't happen. Or you can even drop this, and if you do, that member gains +1 limit and you RNG 1. This card's been a very helpful tech in my deck, and I've been using one of. It can be very good or it can be very bad. Sometimes you end up fighting in Paradox in Aura Battle when you don't want to, but generally this card's fine as a one-of, and your opponent really wants to be getting it off the board, or else you're just getting free value. Talented Taoist spell Huang Huang. This is by far her best foreigner Covenant. So if the deployed TransUnion is Mejiko and you're level 3 or higher, for the turn, the deployed member gets the ability that at the start of your battle phase, if 2 or more of your Mejiko have been dropped from the field via cost or ability of your Mejiko during this turn, draw 2 cards. This doesn't have to apply on after the ability is given to the character. It also checks before. So if you sack 2 characters and then trance with this, you will still draw the 2 at the beginning of the combat phase. And what I mean is when you sack the level 2 that draws you a card if your opponent has 1 or less stock, and you sack another one of that somehow by reviving it or doing whatever, you end up plussing 2 because that card replaced itself twice, and then this is drawing you 2, so it's just a pure plus. The advantage you get from this is such a huge swing, either evening out what you sacrificed or even plussing you even farther. Witch's Elixir Mejiko. This is one of the covenants I actually like for her, but I'm having trouble finding room for. Her covenant is that when you deploy Mejiko, your opponent may pay 1. If they paid 1, you look at the top and you put it on the top or the bottom. If they didn't pay it, you look at the top 4, put 2 on top, 2 on bottom. I would have liked it more if you could put any number on the top or bottom, but that might be a bit too much to ask for in all honesty. This card's very strong. Sets up what you can draw off Huang Huang. Sets off what you can draw off your other cards. It really makes sure that you get what you need. And it really helps you know what's up. Like, your level boosts are also set up, so this card's very strong in that regard. But finding room for it when you have such powerful Covenanters, like the one that salvages you or one you'll see later, it becomes hard to find room for this. For Master Larva, Covenant, if there's 4 or more cards in your opponent's stock, drop the top card of your opponent's stock. It's fine. Stock doesn't really matter. Next card. Hatred Ray Mejiko. Once again, another level 4 Mejiko with no secondary ability. Just a logic drive. Pay 3 if there's 1 or fewer cards in your opponent's stock. This member gains 3 limit. And when this member attacks, put the top 3 cards of your opponent's of your deck face up into the battle zone. So you RNG 3. This card is generally more fine because the logic drive checks when you activate it, not when it attacks. So if you get rid of their stock and then use this and then attack, it's actually fine. But as you've seen with some of our other level 4s already, you get so much value off their secondary abilities that not having that is really detrimental. Maybe this can see a place as a really strong attacker, but once again, that RNG can really mess you up. Curse Pearl Binding Strike Mejiko. If there's 1 or fewer cards in your opponent's stock, this gets 2k. Very hard to do when mostly you want that as a defender. So level 3 10k defender will not happen most of the time because your opponent can manipulate their stock on their turn. Pay 2 logic drive, draw 1, this gets 2k. Not that exciting. Stubborn Follow-Up attacks Mejiko. Secondary ability is when this member is placed onto the battle zone during battles involving your Mejiko. Drop the top card of your opponent's stock. Incidental stock removal. Not that strong. Logic drive, pay 2, draw 1, gain 2k. Not that good. Chewing Happiness Huang Huang. This is a very interesting card. It gets really weird when your opponent just breaks a gate after, but if they don't, this is okay. When this member loses a battle while defending, you drop the top card of your opponent's stock. Then if there's 1 or fewer cards in your opponent's stock, you can choose a Mejiko in your drop zone and put it on top of your deck. The issue with this card is if they hit a gate after, that top card is generally going to go into your stock. So it feels really awkward playing this. I really wish it was an on-sack ability, but they might have tested that and thought it was too strong, so Bushiroad made it so that it was a defending ability. Next one. Snappy Food Server, Larva. When this member is placed from deck to the battle zone, so you have to RNG it. Drop the top card of your opponent's stock. Then if there's 1 or fewer cards in your opponent's stock, draw a card. If you sack it, sure, it's too unreliable. Sorry, I'm just trying to go through this quickly because the time is a big deal. Level 3, 7k. This is part of the summer set, so it has that summer trait on the left, on top of its name. At the start of your battle phase, drop the top card of your opponent's stock. Then if this has no soul, you drop the top card of your stock. So if you trance into it, only your opponent loses stock. But sometimes it's okay. This thing, just as a way to randomly kill stock without committing anything, was okay. I was testing it for a while, but just some of her other cards are, like, having a level 3 9k has been stronger than having this with the incidental stock removal. And her logic drive is pay 3, draw a card, this member gains 3k. It's alright, not too strong, but it has its place sometimes. Hiding in the Shades Mejiko, another Somerset card. When this intercepts, if your member in battle is red or summer, drop the top card of your opponent's stock. She's cute in that swimsuit though. Huang Huang, Somerset. When this member is dropped from the deck, if you have 1 or more members that is either Dysphere or Summer, drop the top 2 cards of your deck. Not a Mejiko card. Dysphere deck, sure, but the Dysphere deck's not that strong. Shivering Reaper Mejiko. Now we get to the new set. Only out in Japanese, including some of those summer cards, but the last 2 really. First one we got. But here we're going on to the cards that really make the Mejiko deck soar even stronger than it already was. So this is a level 3 6k. That seems really bad, but this thing's not an attacker. It has TC, which is trance change, so once per turn you can trance change with a foreigner who has the Mejiko trait and trans into a Mejiko character. EX Soul 1, so as long as she has 1 soul, this ability is active. Startup ability, which you can use every turn. rest her, choose a card in your drop zone that is either level 2 or lower Mejiko or a foreigner with a Covenant or Mejiko trait, and you deploy it. And then until end of turn, this gets the ability that sorry, not this. The card you summon get the ability that if it's dropped by the cost or effect of a Mejiko, choose one of your opponent's member and that member gets minus 2k for the turn. This is very, very strong ability just because the first time you bring it out, it already replaces the cards you use to trance into it. Like, you get this and then you also get one more unit. Worst case scenario is actually summoning a foreigner and trance changing again into something else just to get the EX Soul 3 of your other cards. But being able to get that minus 2k on some relevant abilities is very, very strong. And you'll see why later. But imagine this living a turn and even trancing into 2 of these turn 3 and then having them both live. You get so much additional plus for no actual reason. And this card is so insane in that respect for value. Ghostly Flame Hellfire Blade Mejiko, so she finally gets her own catch-up mechanic. She doesn't have to play Yukari anymore. EX Soul 3, so if it has at least 3 soul, start up once per turn, drop one of your Mejiko, choose one of your opponent's member, and that member gets minus 3k. So if you sack a member you revive with the last Mejiko, that character would get minus 5k. Then if the member has 0 soul and its power is 0 or lower, you drop that member. So if you're able to make an 8k or a 10k 0 and then it doesn't have soul, you can just kill it and then attack the gate right away. So she's able to basically get an extra attack without needing that 4th attack if you're going first. Other things you can do with that, if you want to drop a different member than the one you revived, you can revive that level 2 we saw in the first set, which gives minus 3k to a character. So that's really strong. But yeah, this card is very strong, and even in the late game when you don't need to drop a member, you can either revive something, sack it minus 5k to an interceptor and get it off the board, or just give minus 3k or minus 5k or whatever to a character you're going to attack, meaning all of your other attacks will be generally 5k stronger. Evil Way of the Sword Mejiko, her other TC, it's a level 2. Her EX Soul 1 is resting this member, dropping one of your Mejiko, choose one of your opponent's member, and that gets minus 5k. You can see already how that other Mejiko can hit the high numbers to get the catch-up mechanic on board. You can do this first, and then trance change with this into that Mejiko, sacrifice another Mejiko, minus 3k, now that's minus 8k on the board, and that's usually enough to kill any level 3 or lower that is defending a gate. Eating Lobe Mejiko, by far her strongest Logicalist Covenant. What it does is that when you trance with it, you choose a card in your drop zone that's either a level X or lower Mejiko, or a foreigner with a Covenant or trait Mejiko, and deploy it. And X is the number of cards in your level zone. So no matter what level you are, you can get a card that's your level or less onto the board. And obviously, like I say all the time, the worst case scenario for this is bringing out a foreigner just so you can trance change again. Generally, you can revive the card, the level 2 card that kills a stock and draws you a card, just get more value, and having all of these random pluses makes it really easy to be willing to sacrifice the Mejiko that, to sacrifice for the Huang Huang that draws you 2 cards. Getting to the last 4 cards here, Deathbringer Thanatos. A lot of the characters got this Vanguard Covenant style card. I believe every character in the new sets did. So if she Covenants and transfers with the Mejiko, you can pay 1, draw 1. Almost every character has that right now. Mostly the girls. None of the guys do because they don't have support yet, but that's another story. Vanguard, when it enters the field, Vanguard ability activates if they have 6 or more unbroken gates. You can choose territory 1 member in your opponent's front row and drop it, and then if you do drop, your opponent draws a card. So kill something and replace it, but the main thing is opening a gate. Declaration of Beheading Mejiko. Loving the art for this card. When this enters the field from the drop zone specifically, you minus 2k to a character. So you can revive this, minus 2k, sack it with the level 4. After reviving this with the level 3, minus another 5k, that's already 7k without needing that level 2 TC. Very strong. Logic Drive, pay 2, draw a card. You don't want to be doing that. You want to be reviving this from the drop zone, so it won't be getting the soul. Blade of the Prison Warden Kitamaru. Her other foreigner. This one is actually fine. Just looking at a lot of the older foreigners, some of them are okay to play, but it becomes a lot harder because they're not high power and they don't do anything that's really detrimental. All Kitamaru does is that when it enters from the drop zone, you drop the top card of your opponent's stock. So it's really incidental stock removal, but the key factor here is that it's a 5k level 1. Sometimes that's really hard to kill with if your opponent is just trying to get a interceptor off the board. They generally won't have level 1 5Ks unless they're already using those to attack with it, but they usually would have used it to trance with or do other stuff. So this card's very strong in that respect, and incidentally killing a stock and then trancing is fine. Her very last card, Dead Abyss Guidance. I'm only going through this paradox because it's specifically to Mejiko. It changes battle to aura. All your red members gain +1 aura, and when you play it, if your member in battle is Mejiko, you can pay the cost, which is dropping any of your members not in battle. If you do, the member in battle gains +2 aura. So you're able to sacrifice any of your extra cards that weren't attacked, or even an interceptor, and instead of basically intercepting for 5k, it intercepts for 2 aura. This card is very strong in that regard. It's able to make it so that if you're an attacker, you're at 4 aura, and even a +3 aura tactics won't be enough. And on defense, you can go to 4 aura and your opponent's +2 auras won't be enough. So it gets a lot of value that way. So this has been running on for about 26 minutes. Not as long as I wanted, but I also talked really fast, so sorry about that. Hopefully you guys got all the information. If you guys want any of the translations, they're all on heartofthecards.com. That's where I found it. You can also find a lot of other resources there, like the regionals that's coming up, and also information on where there might be locals for you. My deck list for Lion at the regionals where I live is up there, so you can find that. I will be doing a Lion video as soon as I get one of my friends here with me. We'll be doing it together. I am really sorry I missed that one Mejiko card from set 1. That's even a really important one. The level 2 that rests to sack and sacks to kill a stock. But yeah, if there was any background noise, I'm really sorry. It's Halloween and there's fireworks going off all over the place. If you want any more information, please comment below for any information you might want, any resources. You can go to the North America Luck and Logic group on Facebook, and there will be a lot of people willing to help you out. I'm a moderator there. A lot of my friends are moderators there. We can help you get into the group. We can direct you towards any information you might need. And please, if you do like this, share it with your friends who play Luck and Logic. Even if they don't, maybe they'll get interested. Subscribe so you can see the future videos. I'll be hopefully making more as soon as I can. The next ones to be coming will be a lot of the new set stuff. So Nina, Yayoi, Mahiro, Lion, hopefully Senna and Giselle as well. But until then, guys, see you guys next time. And this was the Logicalist's Guide. Hopefully we'll be having a full series of this. Till next time, guys. See ya.